Okay, hi everybody again. This is the part 2 of Albatross app. Yesterday we talked about settings and how to enter the license to the Albatross, and today we will go through the logbook, how to create a task, new task, edit any old task already on the phone, and then we will go through the flight screens, how to set navboxes, how to use it, what is what, and I will demonstrate how the flight looks like. At the end, I would like to show you also the example how you can copy from one Android device to another, all the settings. So basically you can copy everything from one Android device to another, so you don't need to enter everything again. Okay, let me first share screen. This one. Like this. Okay, Bernie, can you see the Albatross? Bernie, can you see the Albatross? Yeah. Okay. And I think I have some questions already. Oh, sorry. So John Greenfield asked me, can you clarify again the settings voice vario option, as I was flying today and I can't see the difference between average and the thermal. Okay, let me just clarify this first for John. So the average vario announcement is the average of last 20 seconds. That means if you gain, let's say, 20 meters in last 20 seconds, then your average vario is 1 meter per second. Okay? Even if in between it was plus 2 meters, 0, plus half a meter, your average is 1 meter per second, because in last 20 seconds you gain 20 meters. The thermal vario is what you gain at the beginning when you start circling. So in 5 minutes you gained 50 meters. So your thermal vario is basically 50 meters divided by 5 minutes. So that is 50 meters divided by 300 seconds. That's 0.16 meter per second. So that's it. But your average can be 1 meter, because last 20 seconds was good, but overall it was not so good. So that is the difference between average and the thermal. Hope now it's clear for you. Okay. So I will share a screen again. Okay, so now we can go into the logbook. Into the logbook, you can see in my case, I already have many different tasks flown. Basically, we can see Celia, demo, home light, words, Vipava, simulator task, there's Heimlight task, and so on and so on. Basically, over here, it's presented every task which I have flown with Albatross, which has at least one flight. So basically, if I'm interested in the flights I did in Vipava 2 days ago, I just click on Vipava 200 task, and now I have all the flights for this task. Okay, so basically you can see that I have been flown all these tasks on 23rd of May, and I started flying this at 11:15 UTC, and the last one was 3 o'clock and 10 minutes. So basically what you can see here on the top is the date of the flight being made. The big number is the UTC time of the crossing of the start line. And over here, there is how many triangles I did in this flight. Okay, so by clicking on the flight I made, I will click now on the 7, you get more detailed statistic. Basically what you get is your start time, 2 o'clock 2 minutes 56 seconds. If we go back, this is the same already presented here. This is the time when I crossed the start line. Then you have the entry altitude. In my case, it was perfect, 196 meters, only 4 meters below the height limitation. I have 0 penalty points. My entry speed was 36 kilometers per hour, which is not bad, but it could be better, as I can go up to 60 in the light class. My average speed over 7 laps was 21.19 kilometers per hour. I didn't hit any penalty or safety zone. My flight time was 19 minutes and 8 seconds. So I still had 52 seconds to go, but at the end, no altitude to spend it for the triangle. In this case, I have already uploaded this flight to GPS Triangle Leak, so I get the picture of the flight. This is basically, the same picture which you can get if you upload your flights over the website. What we can see here is the triangle which I flew, my flight path, my thermals. It was the west wind. I was drifted away. And over here we have the altitude profile, how I flew. So I got one thermal quite low, and my motor noise level, which is the yellow line over here. So we can see here I used the motor, stopped the motor, started the task. Over here was just the noise when flying fast of the plane. And at the end, when I finished the last lap, basically I finished it at 10 meters, but quite far away, as I was standing over here. I used the motor just to come back and land. This is this small spike here. I use it for 2 seconds. Below the graph, which you only get if you upload the flight to the GPS Triangle Leak, you have the lap statistic. What this lap statistic tells you is basically the first lap. My index of this lap was 223, which is quite high. Index 100 means minimum distance which you could fly. This is basically the task length overall, which is around 960 meters in light class. I did it quite much more because I was thermaling. So when you're thermaling, you're just doing some distance, and this is why the index is quite high. Basically, I finished my triangle at altitude 237 meters. I spent 4 minutes on that lap, and my delta altitude was plus 41 meters. That means I started my task at 196 plus this 41.3 is 237.0. This is basically how much altitude I gain in this lap because of thermaling, because of dolphin flying, nevertheless. Next triangle, I did some thermaling again. I spent 3 minutes 51 seconds and I lost 1 meter. And so on and so on. And then you can see the last lap, I didn't thermal anymore for the last two. The index is now low, 116 and then 109. And my flight time was only 1 minute and 7 seconds or 1 minute 37. So basically I was pushing it because I was getting out of time. And this is the basic statistic you get. So this is now the logbook overview. And now we have three buttons. First button is email. What this means, today I have entered my email account and my GPS triangle leak username and password into the cloud settings, so this will now work. When I press an email button, the email account will already send from my default email on the phone to my preset email address, which is also my own. The subject will be the date of the flight and the start time, and the attachment is already the IGC file. I just need to press send button and it's already on my email account. Why? Because you can just send it to your email account. You don't need to download from the phone via USB cable or whatever. And once you have it on email account, you can view it with online IGC viewer, which I posted the link yesterday, or use the CU software, which I will show today. The replay button will replay this flight on a device itself. Basically, this is still not working the best, but normally you just have to wait. I think it's 4 times faster, and you can see how I was flying. The rotation of the plane, it's a bit delayed sometimes, but nevertheless, we will make this simulation much nicer in next, let's say, month, because it's not high on the priority list. Okay, so this is the replay button. You can just see how I flew around the task. I didn't arm it, so it's not counting the laps now, but nevertheless, this is one way to view the replay of the flight. I will go back. Yes. Now I will show you the upload button. This flight, clearly it's already uploaded. So if I press upload again, it should write me the flight is already uploaded for this user, so it will not be scored again. So you can press it for 10 times and only 1 time will be uploaded. So there is no big problem if you press it again. Now if I go to the flight which is not published yet, this one is also. Okay, so the 6-lap flight is not uploaded yet, as there is no picture. Basically, when you have on your cloud settings your GPS triangle leak username and password, enter it, pressing on upload button will upload this flight. It's already scored in the overall rankings. You can see how you flew it. And basically that is it. Is there any questions around this subject, the logbook? Please ask on the chat. Okay, if not, I would like to just use the 10 minutes to tell you an example which Daniel and Philip Kolb was already talking 2 weeks ago, and also I was talking about it 1 week ago on a meeting. What is index and what is the meaning of very good start? And I will show you the example of what happens when there is not perfect or good start at the beginning. So on this day, I was also flying the big 500-meter Vipava triangle with my scale glider. And in this example, I did 5 laps. Okay. So now this is the triangle which I really was trimming the plane before, and I was really concentrated just to fly as low index as possible using my stereo navigation, using my snipe. And on the table, you can see my indexes. It was 1010, 108, 105, 106, and 111. This was alone with no helper. And I did 5 laps. Not really, because the last lap was with the motor. So, as an example, you can see here, my entry altitude was 485 meters, which was 15 meters lower than it could be, but that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem that my entry speed was only 80 kilometers per hour. It should be 115. So everybody who flew the scale class knows that you can pull up to 40 meters, or let's say 30, 35 meters easily if you have 120 kilometers entry speed. So if I would fly 115 and I would have 495 meters, for sure after start I would be 520 meters easily because of the energy which this plane has. So I would be at least 40 meters higher. I will now share another screen. I will be back with Jörg, the scoring code. So scoring code is only for the contest competitions. This is what you write down on a piece of paper. If you don't have the signed task, which is basically what you get on the competition, the scoring code will always be 0. On the competition, you will get the appropriate score. This is now new in version 1.6. With older version, you always get score. So the next question is from Alex. Sometimes I get penalty points even though altitude and speed are within the limit. Why? I don't know where you get these penalty points, but I'm sure not on Albatross. Maybe you get the penalty point then on soaring GPS triangle leak. So please ask, tell me a bit more. Okay, stop this share and I will now share this screen. Okay, Bernie, can you see the CU? Can you just show me thumbs up or down? No. Your sharing screen is paused. 1 second. Stop. Okay, what about now? Okay, thank you. So basically, this is now the same triangle with 5 laps. Basically, this is how it looks like when you do the index around 106. That means 6% more, which is perfect. And I will now show you the altitude profile of that flight. Basically, the red line indicates the motor usage. And then it was just a slope glide, more or less the same, all the way to the end. And at the end, there is the motor again, and climb and finish. So if I now replay the flight, that was my takeoff position. I stopped the motor, I armed the task, and I just started. And over here, as we analyze it all, I could be 20 meters higher. My AGL, that means above ground level, was around 480 meters, 485 in the case of Albatross, because of different elevation offsets in this program and the Albatross. Nevertheless, at this time I said, it's okay, start. It could be better, but it's okay. So I started, and after doing the first lap, doing the second lap, doing the third lap, doing the fourth lap, I ended up fourth on 100 meter AGL. That means 100 meter above ground level. Normally this goes through. Normally you lose 80 meters per triangle if there is basically zero condition. My average was around 92 to 95 meters at that time, so I said it should go. Well, it didn't go. The air was then a bit worse at the ground level. After point 2, I was already 32 meters above ground level. So you would really appreciate 30 meters more at this point. 30 meters more at this point, it's no problem with this plane. I just continued. I said maybe it'd be good air, and I ended up before point 3 at 11 meters above ground level. That is no more fun. It's flat area. I had fast motor, so no problem. So this is now where these start conditions really matters. This is where you have to practice. If you have now here 30 meters more, if I would be 44 meters, I can just push the plane and I will go fast over the finish line, which I did anyway, because at this point you can see yellow and the red line. I used the motor, climbed to 40 meters, and then just push the plane to finish the 50. So this is why it really matters to be as high and as fast as possible on the start. And this is why you have to practice it by into the task with as much velocity you can have for the specific class and with as much altitude as you can have. So this is the example I want to show you, and this is the profile of the motor. You can see here the red line, the motor used for climbing, and at the end you can see the motor I used just to gain these 30 meters, and then it's just landing. This is the profile of the motor usage, and this is the profile how you can see the task. You can also monitor this on this free IGC viewer, which is online. There is not so much statistics, but everything what I showed you, you can do also over there. Okay. Any questions? Okay, Axel, you wrote on Albatross. If you have a penalty points, then your speed or altitude is definitely too high for the conditions you have set on the task. Please send me this file, this screenshot of your score, and I will check it later on. Okay, let's go back on the Albatross. Okay, so with this case, we go through the logbook. And now we will go over to the task options. So by pressing the task, you get two options: to edit or to create a new task. We will create a new task, and edit, it's basically everything is the same as a new. You just don't create a new one, you just edit the old one which is already on the phone. Okay, by pressing the new, I have to allow my localization. Storage permission, it's on. Okay. Sorry for that. New. Okay. So if you have this localization enabled and you have the Wi-Fi or mobile data connection, you should get the center of new task around your location. In this case, I said around because this is now where the Android device thought I am, but actually I am a bit more over here, which is this point. Okay, so to move the task, This is the place basically where I fly at home. You just do the long press. You find the spot, let's say we will put it over here. You just do the long press and the task is set on this point. Okay, once you have the starting point of the task, then you use the slider to change the direction of flying. Okay? So let's say we will fly like this. So these two parameters normally you do at the beginning. You find the clear spot, that there is no obstacle around it. You set it where you want to start. Normally this should be over the takeoff area. You orientated it, and then you press option. By pressing the option, you get the options for this task. First, name your task. This is the name which will be then presented in a logbook, and it will be presented as a task on your list. And I will just create this as a demo to task. Okay. Task latitude and task longitude, this is basically the starting point, latitude and longitude. Task angle is what we set with a slider. If we want to fine tune it by 1 degree, we can just add it here and the task is rotated for 1 more degree. Task length is basically the length from the start to first point. This is for the scale and SLS class, it's 500 meters. For sport class is 350, John, or it's 400? 350, and for the light class is 200. I will enter now the light class option. The maximum entry altitude is, again, for different classes, it's different. For sports class, it's 400 meters, scale class, it's 500, and for the light class, it's 200 meters. This is your maximum entry speed, 60 kilometers per hour for the light class, 120 for other classes. And this is your working time, how long the task is active. In light class, it's 20 minutes. Task elevation is something which will be automatically collected from Google Earth if you have the internet connection. If you don't have it, then you have to enter manually the elevation of the ground above sea level, how high it is, because this is important. If this is entered wrongly, then when you turn on the system, your GPS altitude will show you like maybe 50 meters. That means task elevation is wrong by 50 meters. So you have to put it higher, 50 meters higher, so your GPS altitude will then be 0 meters. If you have this max entry height and max entry speed set wrong, maybe you have here 50 meters, then you can maybe have a problem like Axel has, that he is flying 60 kilometers per hour over the starting line and he will get the penalty points. Why? Because penalty points are compared to these two values, 200 meters, 50 kilometers per hour. So if these two parameters are wrong, basically if you set here 100 kilometers per hour, you will not get the penalty points even flying 90 kilometers per hour for light class. But in the website, you will get the penalty points, and also on the contest, you will get the penalty points for sure, because they use assigned task and only that task is allowed, so you cannot modify it. So do not cheat, use correct values. Once you have set the task parameters, press OK. Nothing really changed, only the direction of the task is now 245, before was 246. Now press save button, because if you don't press save button, nothing will happen. If you go just back, the task is not saved. When you press save button, now your task is on the task list and you can use it. So this is the basic how to set a task. Now we will add a circular zone and rectangular zone. This is basically where you can practice to fly around any zone which will be there on the competitions, because every time on the competition, normally in this site is a pilot box which has a penalty zone, and you have to go around it. You shouldn't fly over it. So to practice this, you can just basically add the same. Press add rectangular zone, and one big rectangular zone appears on the screen. So now you have to select the zone which you would like to edit. Over here we have a jogger, the black arrows and the middle circle. With this jogger you can fine-tune the positions or select the object on the screen. Basically the selected object is colored yellow. If I press the middle button, the rectangular zone will go yellow. If you press again, the task will go yellow. So now I can use up and down button to fine tune or fine position the task. And if I press the circle, I get the rectangle zone, and I can fine tune it, move it around. And now all these options and the slider is assigned to the rectangular object. I can rotate it. If I press options, I can set bottom altitude. For a pilot box, that means from 0 meters to, let's say, 100 meters, this penalty zone will be active. The zone angle should be the same as GPS triangle, to 245, I think. The width of the zone, let's say 50 meters, and the length of the zone 80 meters. Okay, this one is just a bit too big. Let's do 20 meters by 60 meters will be okay. So now basically we have that so-called pilot box, which you have to avoid while flying. If you hit it, you will get the zone hit warning, and also in your score will be penalty zone hit marked as yes. The same goes with circular zone. Just add a new circular zone. It's quite big one. You can see it here. Again, select it with this select button. Circular zone doesn't really have the orientation, just an option. In the case of GPS light class, enter here 350 meters. That means from 350 meters and up to 1000 meters, this zone is active. So basically, once you will fly over 350 meters, you will hear zone hit, and you know that you are inside the penalty zone and the flight is scored as 0. So I would suggest you train with active zones. The zones are basically not seen when you fly. They only get full colored when you get near to be alerted. I will now just add another rectangular zone just to show you how to delete the zone. I would now like to delete this new rectangular zone. First, I select it, press Option, and press Delete button. And this zone is gone. Okay, so this is now how you create a task. Press Save, and the task is saved. Now, if we go back and we use the Edit button, we have the demo 2 task now on our task list. If I press demo 2, I can see this task which we have created. So now we can delete the zone, we can change the orientation of the task, we can add new zone. And what is important is if you change maybe the orientation of the task or whatever parameter, and you just change the name to demo 3, and I will rotate it for 40 degrees, doesn't matter. If the task has a new name, when you press save, it will create a new task. It will not edit your task which you want to edit. So don't change the name if you want to really edit the task. If you want to just make a new task, basically you create one starting point with all orientations, depends on the wind. You can just set edit, name it like north, east, south, west, and you just save it by different name. So basically, once I saved it, if I go back, now I have demo 2, and I should have demo 3. So now I have 2 tasks, which are basically the same, only 40 degrees in the direction of the task. This is a difference. Okay, all clear here? Any questions? There is some on the chat. I don't have my option. Okay, so David Woods, if you restart the motor after say 7 laps, does that score count, or should you hit restart to make it count? You should hit the restart button before you use the motor. In this case, everything will be more clear. If you publish the flight on the online, everything is clear. What you did before that, it's scored. Don't use the motor and finish the flight after using the motor. Just press a restart button, use the motor. If you did 7 laps will score for online GPS triangle online scoring. In a contest competition, this is different story. You can use the motor only if your landing judge allows you because of the traffic on landing. If you use it any other way, your complete flight is scored as 0. Aro asked me if is there a way to share tasks with other pilots, or they can manually inputting some parameters. Yes, there is the way to do it. I will show you now how. Okay, share screen again. Okay, so how to share a task and how to delete the task. Over here we have a list of all the tasks which I created someday. So now I want to delete demo 3 task. You have to go to your Android device, use the File Explorer, go to internal storage, Albatross folder, and go into the task folder. Over here, you have the list of all tasks which are also shown in Albatross. So to delete a task, demo 3, not open it. Sorry. I'm doing this with my left hand, I have to do my right. Okay, task. So select the task and bin it. Delete, yes. So now this task is removed. If you want to share it with others, let's say this demo 2 flight, you just press select, share, and then use whatever Bluetooth, Gmail, Dropbox, whatever app you have for sharing, and you can just send it to email account of your friend, use the Bluetooth to share it to your friend, and so on. So this is how you share the task between others or between the tablets, and this is how you delete the task from your list. So we deleted the demo 3 task, and if I now use Albatross again, go to task, edit, there is no more demo 3 task on the list. Okay. So next question. York Müller asked me, max entry speed is measured on 3D speed. Yes. We will go through this now when we go over all navbox options. So you have to check 3D speed, not ground speed. John Mitchell wrote, after yesterday, I tried to update Albatross to version 1.6c, but there was no update. Yes, because this is not published yet, this will come. Version 1.6 is latest. Version 1.6c or D will be published this week. We just are cleaning the box. Also, the yesterday bug with 4 navboxes is fixed now. Bernie asked, when you share a task, how do you import it to your Albatross? Good question. You have to save it to the same folder which I show it to you. You have to save it to Albatross task folder. Once in there, you can see it in Albatross app. If you save it to any other folder, you will not be able to select it in Albatross. Okay, so now we can go over our last button, which is a flight button. Share screen again. Okay, so basically now you have set up everything. You have set up your license, you have set up your glider, you have set up your task. Now it's time to fly it. You press flight button. Okay, over here now you're asked to select which plane do you wish to fly, which task do you wish to fly, what kind of ballast you put in. This ballast will only work with make ready to calculate the wing loading. If you don't fly or don't have the Raven system for make ready flying, it doesn't matter what you set here. And gate time is a helper for a pilot. On the competition, you have a gate time. So basically you can start your task from, let's say, 12 o'clock, 5 minutes, 00 seconds until 12 o'clock, 15 minutes, 59 seconds. That means if it's only reported as hour and minute, but that means if the gate will be closed at 12 o'clock, 15 minutes, that means you can still start the task at 12 o'clock, 15 minutes and 59 seconds. So it's still the 15 minutes of the clock. So if you do not enable the gate time helper, you will only get the UTC time, which will be shown always on top left side. And you have to know when the gate time is open and when the gate time will close. If you enter the value here when the gate time is open and when the gate time is closed, the time window, so the start gate time will tell you you have to wait for, let's say, 2 more minutes before the gate time is open. Then it will say it's opened and will count down how much more time the gate is open before it will close. And after the gate time is closed, you will get the sign closed. That means you cannot start anymore on the competition. This is only valid for contest competition and challenge cups, which has gate time. I will show an example for both. So basically, to go back, to select the plane, click on it. You have list of your internal planes in your storage. I have 3 planes. Today, let's say I will fly the 17, the big one. I would like to fly the task we created now, demo 2. Okay, I will not use any ballast and I will not use any gate time. Then you press fly. So now you get the screen of the task we created, header, time fields, navbox fields, various scale, airspeed scale, wind indicator, and triangle symbol with the number of triangles done. So before I show you how to, as a simulated flight, let's go on what you can see on the screen. So on the top one, on the top header, in the middle, you can find the name of the page you can view at this moment. There are 4 pages, which is a start page, thermal page, and glide page, and info page. All the pages have the same view, but each page can have its own navboxes, which I will show you now. To select different page, you can use the servo control from your transmitter, which I already showed yesterday, how to set it up and how to use it, or use these 2 left and right arrows to switch the page. So I go from start to thermal, next click is glides, next one is info. It's a bit slow on sharing. Come on. Doesn't want to share the screen anymore. Second. Yeah, okay. So it goes to info and then it goes to start again. So this is how you change left and right, basically with clicking on the arrows. Okay, then if you press on the middle, on the thermal, nothing will happen. So basically, when you are on a start page, the start label has additional option, which is basically to arm the task. By pressing it, I press now on the phone, the start will go red and the arrows appear. This will indicate to the pilot that the start is now armed. So next crossing of the start line, which is this yellow line, will start basically the lap statistic and will start your task. When you are on different page, thermal, let's say for example, only the label goes red. So you also know in a thermal page that you are already active. So by crossing the start line, you will start flying the task. You can always restart. You have to go to start page and then press start again. On this field, on the right side, the pilot will see the working time, how many time he still has for the task. In the light class, that's 20 minutes. Once you start the task, this time will count down how much time you have to finish, working time to have to do more laps. On the left side, now because I have no data stream coming in, it just dots, but normally over here now you will see the UTC time because I didn't enable the gate time. I will show then later an example for gate time and UTC time. It's just the time, basically what is the time, so you know if you still have the time to start the task or Are you too early? You have to wait before the gate is open. Over here, you have the wind indicator. The arrow will show you from which direction the wind is blowing, and the number will tell you how much the wind speed, basically in kilometers per hour or meters per second, depends on the unit set for the wind in the settings. Okay, any questions? No question. On this side, it's a triangle symbol with 0 laps. After you do 1 lap, the 0 goes to 1. So pilot can see how many laps he did, always on this triangle symbol. Then we have on the left side, we have the airspeed slider. This only works with Raven unit, which has an airspeed. And on the right side, we have the Vario slider, which will show the arrow, will show the movement of your plane. And the number will tell you the speed of the rate of sink or the rate of climb, basically your Vario value. Okay, I have 2 questions. Aro asked me, where is the wind, speed and direction coming from? Okay, the speed of the wind comes with calculation of, if you have the Raven and airspeed probe connected to it, it will calculate the difference between the airspeed and the ground speed. If not, we'll calculate when you start thermaling how much you are drifted away and the difference of the speeds in the maximum and minimum when you are thermaling the ground speed. So this works very accurate with the scale gliders, with light class, depends on your installation of GPS. If GPS reception is bad, the wind will be bad. If the installation is nice, so you can see very nice circles when you thermal, it will be very nice and accurate demonstration of the wind. Okay, David Woods, how does Albatross calculate the wind speed? The same question, so the answer is the same. So the wind speed will work for all the devices, FlyMate, Finch, T3000, Snipe. Only when using Raven, it will use the airspeed method, drift method, and speed difference method. Otherwise, it will just use the drift method and speed difference in all other cases. So John Greenfield, does the order of the navbox affect the priority of audio messages? No, it doesn't matter. Jose, there is a cross of waypoint 1, must be a dangerous point. Yes. You have to go very quickly around it. A joke. Okay, so the Vario slider. Over here we have the minus and the plus buttons, and the middle is the value. This is the McCready value. By pressing the plus button, we'll increase this by 0.2. Pressing the minus will decrease the McCready value by 0.2 meters per second. More about McCready flying, I will do another webinar when this will be implemented for all Raven and Snipe users, and we will talk about this later. For now, you can just ignore this. Then in the center of it, we have the task with the map. So once you check the map, you see where potential thermals, because of the fields and the town or the village or the hill or the forest. You can disable the map while flying it by using the long press anywhere on this area. You just do the long press and the map will disappear. It just needs a bit time again to sync. So now there is no more map, and we can much more clearly see the task and the sectors. So basically the sectors are these point sectors, which are purple in this case, 1, 2, 3. Task is black, start finish line is yellow. You can change these colors in settings for each glider individually. And on the bottom one, you have the now box list. There are always 6 now boxes, and the user can modify them by their own will. How to modify the now box? You just do a quick press on it. So basically doing a quick press on GPS altitude now box will give me the list of all now boxes or all information values which you can find in Albatross, and the user then just select one of it, and this value will then be displayed on this now box which he selected to change. So basically you can change 6 now boxes per page. So each page has different now box, and I will show you for an example now. I will use back what I fly. Basically in my start, I have GPS altitude, which is scored as entry altitude. So this one has to be lower than 200 meters when I start. 3D speed, which is used for calculating the penalty for the entry speed. Device battery is the Android device battery, so I know that I have more than 35% of battery before I start the task, so my Android device will not go flat during the task. Then I have my actual entry height, my actual entry speed, and the number of penalty points I have after crossing the line. So how do I fly in? Basically, I start here, I fly in over the task, and I check these 2 values while flying in, and after I hear task started, I immediately check to be double sure there is 0 penalty points, and after that I check is my entry height and entry speed okay. So this is, I want to see here for the light class 190 meters and 50 kilometers per hour around that. So that I know, okay, my entry speed and height was good, so I will not be hitting my head after the 5th lap using the motor at this point, which I showed you before, and that I'm absolutely sure I have 0 penalty points before I start the task. If I have penalty points here, I press restart on my transmitter or use the start button here. I go around and do new entry again. So once I started the task, then I can just switch to my thermal or glide page. Basically, when I fly glide page, again, I have here GPS altitude. I have on all pages over here GPS altitude. Why? I fly a Raven and Snipe for the scale, and I fly Sparrow and Snipe on the light class. So when flying scale class, I have always my airspeed indication, which tells me basically my true airspeed, and this is what I want to have for my best LD. I should fly around 70 kilometers per hour. When you have the airspeed, that doesn't matter if there is a wind or no wind. You just have to fly your best LD speed to do the most triangles. If you check the ground speed, it will not be okay when it's a windy day. If it's no wind, you can use that. But when it's a wind, you will, if the wind blows from this direction, you will fly very slow this leg and very quick this one. So basically you would like to go slower here, but you will stall because you have a ground speed higher, but your true airspeed is what really matters. So I always have the airspeed here. I always have my vario information here. and I always have my altitude information here. So these three are fixed for all the pages in my case. Why altitude? Because once you start thermaling with others, the other will start asking what is your altitude, so your helper or yourself can always check your altitude on the same position and report I'm 450 meters, okay, I'm 480 meters, we are 30 meters apart, okay. So you don't spend too much time searching where your GPS altitude is because of the different pages. It's always there. This is my setting, and this will be the full setting from next release. These three parameters is the most what I'm watching. Anything else is basically just my information. So in the glide, basically I want to see how much altitude I lost in one triangle, what was my lap time, so I know that I'm flying slow, normal, or quick. What is my sector distance, so distance to reach the sector. What was the last crossing altitude when I finished the previous task, and what was my last triangle index. So what will this help me when I fly? If I fly it like this comes into account for the last triangles. Basically, every time I finish the lap, I check my lap altitude. That will show me if there is a zero sync, or let's say around zero sync. I know after first lap, I lost 95 meters. Okay. At that time, I immediately know that from 500 meters, there will be no way I can do 6 laps, but I can do 5. So my tactic is then to go 5 laps. And after next triangle, if I lose again 90 meters, that will just confirm me that yes, I will do 5 laps. And I just continue. But if the next lap I only lose 20 meters, then my tactic goes to 6 laps. So I will stop and do a 6 lap. So immediately I know what I'm losing and what the air is going on. The lap time is the most important for the last triangle. When your time runs out and you are, let's say, over here, and you have, let's say, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. You have the altitude to do 2 more, but do I have the time? You can check, okay, my last lap time was 2 minutes 20 seconds, and I did index of 108. So I did very good index, so I did very nice triangle, and I spent 2 minutes and 20 seconds. There is no way I can do 2 more in 4 minutes 30 seconds. You understand me? Because the index is already low. I cannot lower the index. I have to fly at that speed, because if you have a lot of altitude, then you just increase the speed. But if the altitude is for 2 more, but the time will tell you, the time will not go. So at this time, I decide I will not do 2 more. So I will finish this one and do fast 1 more and land, and I will not finish this one and do 2 slow ones. So at the end, you do then the last one quicker, and you know that, let's say 1.5 lap before landing, that you will start your technique with doing the last one quicker, because there is no way you can do 2 slow ones, because your lap time will not go into your working time. And okay. So this is the information which I trained to use when I fly. And this basically goes at the start. I see how much altitude I lose during the first triangle with no thermaling. If this is okay, I can decide if there is 0 conditions, will I go for 6 laps? If I lose 80 75 meters in first lap, I will go for a 6th lap. If 90, 95, then I go for 5, and that's it. I will not do a search for a thermal or whatever. So this is my glide page. Then my info page is, okay, this one I never used, so I didn't set it up. So I will just go to a thermal page. Why I don't use the info page? Yesterday I showed you I have on the slider 3 position, glide, start, and thermal. So I only use these 3 pages. So in the thermal page, again, I have the GPS altitude over here, because when I'm thermaling, I can report my altitude immediately. Even if I don't hear the voice announcement for altitude gain, I always can see it. So I know how much altitude I gained, or my helper can tell me if I ask him what is my altitude gain. I know how much time I already spent in the thermal. So basically in a light class, if you have 20 minutes, you don't want to sit here 10 minutes in one thermal. That's too long. You will not do any triangles. And then on the lower one, I have actual vario, average vario, and a thermal vario. So I can just explore them if they are all rising, or if the vario is already sinking or decreasing against the average or the thermal vario. This is what I was telling yesterday. So then I can decide to leave the thermal or to stay in the thermal. So this is my example. And now I will go through all the now boxes and will tell you what is what. Let me just check what is the time today. Okay, we are still okay. So some questions. David Woods, can you listen to the GPS altitude and speed on your Yeti telemetry voice announcement? Yes, you can if you set it like that. Then you have to set non-compressed data, just normal data, and then you can have on your Yeti announcement on your buttons to tell you altitude, speed, altitude, speed. So again, by pressing on the now box, quickly, you get the list. And now we will go through the list. So ground speed is basically your ground speed, how fast you are traveling against the ground. In GPS triangle competition, you don't use this. If you're just flying for fun, or if you would like to see it, let's say, how fast you are moving over the ground, then you set it. GPS altitude is the altitude which is scored for the entry altitude, for all the warning altitudes will be checked for the entry into the penalty zones, for the crossing above the penalty zones, or not going over 350 meters in the light class. So GPS altitude is very important one. So this one you should always look out, and everybody will have GPS altitude somewhere, and everybody is reporting their own altitude based on GPS altitude in the thermaling. Barometric altitude is basically the altitude which is used from the barometric sensor. For now, this is not used in GPS triangle competitions. Maybe in near future, in 1 or 2 years, the rules will be that the baro altitude has to be used because it's much quicker on the response and much more accurate. The vario is basically your climb or sink rate of the glider. I think everybody knows what the vario is. Ground track is basically the direction the glider is flying to. This is the movement over the ground, the direction over the ground. So if the ground track is 0, then your glider is flying to the north. If the ground track is 90 degrees, then it's east. 180 degrees, it's south, and 270 degrees, it's west. So this will tell you the direction of your track. The airspeed is basically true airspeed, which is only available when the Raven is used and the pitot is connected to it. 3D speed is the speed which you have to observe on entry. So that speed should not be higher than 60 kilometers in light class or 120 kilometers in sport and scale class. And only then this is required. After next or during the flight, you don't mind to check it anymore. So I have this navbox only on start page. Sat in use, this is the number of satellites in use. So you should maybe set this on info page just to check if your reception has a good satellite view. So you can see, check if you have, let's say, 6 or up to 12 satellites in view. 12 is better than 6, of course. If you have always the low number 5, 4, then you have to reposition your GPS antenna or reposition your Sparrow module. It is blocking the satellite signal. Okay, Mr. Jose asked, related to previous question, what is the difference in practice of using X data or X compressed data? The normal X data is the values which you can see on Yeti transmitters. When you use the X compressed data, is this you set to use for GPS triangle competitions. In this case, you will not be able to see any human readable data on the Yeti transmitter. Only the climb rate is visible, but the Finch or the Snipe will use this data to convert it for Albatross just because of the better data rate. So we will talk about this in different seminars. Back to navboxes, the average speed, this is basically what is being scored. Oh, sorry, I clicked on it. So the average speed is basically the average speed over the triangles flown. So if you do one triangle, it's time spent to do one triangle divided by the distance of one triangle. It's your average speed, and this is then scored at the end as a scoring point in competition. So if 2 of the pilots have the same number of triangles, example 5, the one with the average speed, which has a higher average speed, will win that hit. So the average speed is just information. When you land or when you do the triangle, you can see if your average speed is increasing or decreasing. So the last lap speed will always show you what was the average speed of the last triangle, basically the speed of the last triangle. So you know, basically, if you have the average speed for all triangles like 22 kilometers per hour and your last lap speed was 25, you will increase the average speed. But if your last lap speed is lower than average speed, then you will decrease your overall average speed. This is just the information. The entry speed will tell you what was your actual entry speed when you crossed the start line. The same goes for the entry height. This will show you what is your entry height, which is being scored. So these 2 parameters has to be below the start condition for each class. Penalty points will show you how many points you will have as a penalty points. You want to have this 0. So that means if the entry height or the entry speed was over the entry limit, you will get the penalty points. Servo pulse is basically just how much percentage of servo is being detected. This is basically just to observe if your servo detection is working, but you can also check this in your servo settings. The average vario has already been told many times what it is. It's the average of 20 seconds. The thermal value is basically the average of your thermal altitude gain divided by thermal time. This is your thermal value. Altitude gain is basically how much altitude you gained in this thermal, the start of the thermal link until now. Thermal time is again from the point when the system detects you turn for the thermal, it starts counting the thermal time, so how much minutes and seconds you are spending in one thermal. Wind speed, it's already displayed in a wind indicator, so you really don't need it, but you could also use it in a navbox in kilometers per hour. Device battery will show you the percentage of Android device battery. You would like to have this, as I already explained, more than 30% when you start the task. So you will not go on the last triangle, which you already did 16 laps, and then the battery of your Android device goes flat and the Albatross will turn off on your 17th lap. Not good. So lap altitude is basically how many meters you gain or lose in a lap. Last cross altitude, this is the last crossing altitude, so that will tell you at which altitude you crossed the start finish line, the last previous. So basically, once you start the task, the last cross altitude will be the same as your entry height. Next time, it's lower or higher, depends on your lap altitude. So that you know, okay, my last crossing was 120 meters and I ended at 90 meters. So basically I lost 30 meters, which the lap altitude will tell you. So I can do one more for sure. Because I still have 90 meters and I lost only 30 meters. Lap time, this is how much time you spent on the last lap. These values, the lap altitude, last cross altitude, the lap time, the index, this is only refreshed once you cross the start-finish line of the lap. So this is not refreshed during the lap time. Only when you cross the finish line, these values are then refreshed to a new values. The index will tell you how much percentage you did more, what you should. So 100% it's impossible to fly. If somebody will do it, I will give him one Sparrow system for free. But he has to prove it. He did it. Not in the car or with the bike. He did it with the plane. So as I already, when Daniel asked me, I would say with scale class, your target is to fly index 106 to 108. That's very good. 110, it's still very good. In light class, I would say 108 or 9 to 115 is very good, because every meter counts a lot in the light class. Average lap time. Again, this is basically what is your average lap time. So what can I explain more than that? Turning point distance. This is the distance from the glider to turning point. Direct distance. So you know how much more meters you have to the point. OT distance, this is off-track distance. This is basically what you can see how many meters you are inside or outside of the task. So and then this is sector distance, is ST distance. This is basically the distance to the sector. And I will now explain you what is what. Let me just show the task again. So let's say the point is here on the first point, okay? And the glider is here. So the turn point distance is from here, direct line to the point. So this is the point distance. Sector distance is from the glider parallel to the task to the sector. This is the sector distance, and the off-track distance is from the glider to the task line, this distance. So normally, when you fly 20 meters out, which is here, you will check the sector distance when you have to turn. And what is more important, before you start the task, if you are flying parallel to the start line, what you would like to observe is sector distance. Why? Because once you fly over parallel to the start line, if you observe over here, maybe you're over here flying to this direction, if you check the turning point distance, it will tell you it's still 500 meters. Also, sorry, also, I'm clicking, which I shouldn't do. Also, the off-track distance will tell you you're still 400 meters outside, let's say. But your sector distance will tell you only 10 meters from the sector. So you know when you are losing the altitude and remaining the entry speed around 150 meters, and when you see in a scale class, maybe you are 502 meters high, and your sector distance is only 10 meters, then you just bank and you start the task. Then you're good to go. You do not want to go over here and start the task, because this is then the shortest line to the point. So this is the difference between off-track is this distance, point is this distance, and the sector is parallel to the task line is this distance. Choose what you would like to use, and this is it. So in my case, for the starting condition and the point condition, I would use sector distance. And during the flight, you already hear 20 out, 40 out, but you can also observe this as off-track distance, which is the OT distance, this one. Then we have a steering information. Steering is basically the angle of degree which you have to turn to go directly to the point, not to the sector, but to the point. That means if it will tell you -5 degrees, you have to go left for 5 degrees and you will go directly to the point. You already see this visually by covering the blue line and the red line. This is basically the angle between these two lines, numerically displayed. The battery voltage is basically the voltage of the onboard system, which is Sparrow, Raven, or Flymate, which is measuring and reporting as a battery voltage. Basically, as an example, you can just connect Sparrow or Raven directly to 2S battery in a scale glider, and you can see here the battery voltage of your onboard battery and put the warning for it, let's say on 6.8 volts. So you get a warning, low battery, to safely land your glider before your battery goes flat. So basically, these are now all the navboxes and the meaning of them. So the questions from Stefan: does the Sparrow provide Albatross with only GPS and baro data for all calculations? It's a tricky question. If you use the Sparrow with RF module, you will get both GPS and barometric altitude. If you use Yeti compressed data, then only GPS altitude is sent, as only GPS altitude is important for GPS flying, just to save the bandwidth to get better refresh rate out of Yeti. John Greenfield asked, is the distance to the point of 20 meters outside the point? No. The navbox will show you the turn point distance directly to the turn point. The steering information, the audio steering information, will navigate you exactly 25 meters out on sport scale class, 18 meters out on sport class, and 10 meters out of the point on light class. What that means, the steering information left, right on snipe, when you fly the big glider, will navigate you 20 meters outside, so to this point over here, in sports class to this point, and light class to this point. So for an example, let's check again the IGC file. Okay, I go back to this flight which I did with an index of 105, I think was one lap. I was only using the stereo information of the snipe. And if we go and check over here, this is what John Greenfield asked, and this is what I'm explaining. If I check the distance from the point to the point where I have been navigating, you can observe over here, check this parameter distance. Sorry, it's a bit more to the left. You can see 20 meters. So you can see that I was always flying 20 meters. System basically navigate me to 25 meters, which is this. I was always a bit inside. And if we check all the points, so this one, that one was 20 meters. So the point 3, this was the last one using the motor, so this one will not count. And all others, let's say, again, 20 meters is here, 28 meters is here. So you can see that the system navigated me to the same point all the time. And if I check then the second point, this one is, you can see over here it's displayed. If somebody is not seeing that, you can see again, this is 20 meters. So all the entry into the sector was around 20 to 13 meters. So this is what I'm talking about using the stereo navigation, the snipe. With the Finch, you have to navigate this visually looking down on the tablet, or use your helper to navigate you and will tell you a bit left, a bit right, and so on. Okay, so I hope you understand now this part. Any other questions? No. So please ask anything else, and then we can just decide if you would like to see now the simulation of the flight, how it looks like, or I show you how to transfer the glider base from one phone to another phone. So should we go and do the part where we will use, I have here another phone, and I will use the Albatross. That one is not connected to the sharing. So basically, okay, like this you can see. If I press info button, the list is empty. I didn't enter any license, okay? And if I go back and I check the settings, I only have a default plane. Basically, this is a clean installation of Albatross. So what to do? Okay. First, you have to connect your basic, the first tablet or the first phone, you connect it to the computer. Okay? And you just add permission to use the file transfer. You have to connect this. File transfer. Okay. So then I will now share the screen. Okay, Bernie, can you see my power phone? Yes, thank you. Then you go into internal shared storage, you go into the Albatross, and you copy backup and Albatross file. This is all you have to do. If you would like to transfer all the tasks also, you just copy these 3 files and you copy it to a new tablet phone to the same folder. In Albatross file, they are all licenses inserted, and in backup you have your glider and navbox database, which is then transferred. So I will copy these 2 files. Okay, I will go and copy it to, I don't know, somewhere here, and there is fine. Okay, I copy it here. Then I will connect my second phone, which is now this one. Okay. And I will now copy these files and I will copy it to my P70A phone storage Albatross, and I will just copy it here. Okay. So now I will stop the share. Okay. So now when I run the Albatross app, if I go under About, I have, you can see 2 licenses are installed. And in my glider settings, I already have all my 3 gliders. So all the settings, all the licenses, all the navboxes, everything is now preset to the same value. If I choose the same glider here with some kind of task, I have the same navboxes indications as I have in another device. So this is how you can basically copy one tablet, one phone to another tablet or another phone. Is this clear? If not, ask me again. Can you just copy the navboxes? Yes, you can, but it's good to copy gliders and the navboxes together because they are linked by ID. So if you have different, let's say in the first plane you have like Easy Glider and Electra, and on the second phone you have Electra and Easy Glider, then the navboxes will be mixed because it's the first ID of the plane, it's in the database. So copy all, basically you just copy the backup folder from one device to another device. Don't do one by one. Mr. David Woods asked me, are you going to do another session on setting up Sparrow Raven wind units? Yes. Now I will do the next session because I already get a lot of questions how to do the polar measurements. So the next online webinar will be about the polar flying using the Raven system on board. What is important, how to record it, how to then analyze the data. I will also publish the tool which will help you to get faster results. So the next seminar will be about that. And then the next one will be how to set up basically any of Ars electronic devices in the plane. I will also show you my installations, how I install it in the glider, what is important, and how to set the back channel telemetry, how to set using primary and secondary link, how to use the listen mode, to use 2 ground units and 1 transmitter. And that's it. All of this will be done in the next one. So in next 2 weeks, so I would say next Sunday or Monday will be the polar measurement, and in 2 weeks will be the how to set up the system in the plane and how to set the setting file to work correctly and how to enter the telemetry per key and so on. So I think this is it for today. If I miss something, please ask now. No questions. I would like to thank you everybody to stick with me. I hope you understand, to clear up a bit, like Jose wrote, everything crystal clear today, but tomorrow you will check the YouTube video and you will be clear again. So that will be published on YouTube. You can review it many times, only the section of my session which is bugging you. And basically this is it. If somebody has any questions, they can always send me an email. You can also find me on Facebook, but it's always better to use email because on email I always answer. On Facebook I might forget. That is it. Thank you very much.
Okay, doc. Thank you very much.